All right, most of you got one correct. For one, you needed to show that you plugged the values in for the variables. So 5 minus 4 equals 3. And actually you can stop here because clearly it doesn't, so that would be a no. For solving by graphing, you needed to remember to put it into y equals mx plus b first. And some of you did that, but you had negative errors, you dropped negatives. So I'm going to put both in. So 2x minus 3y equals negative 3. Remember, to solve for y, you have to get rid of the x term, so we're subtracting that. So now I have negative 3y equals negative 2x minus 3. Some of you dropped that negative, and we're going to divide by negative 3. So y equals 2/3 x plus 1. So I'm going to go over here to plus 1, and we have to go up 2 over 3, or down 2 back 3, and graph that line. And then we have to do the same thing to this one. 5x minus 3y equals negative 12. So we're going to subtract 5x from both sides. So negative 3y equals negative 5x minus 12. Divide everything. So y equals 5/3 x plus 4. So I'm going to come up to the 4, and I have to do the 5/3. So go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 1, 2, 3, or down 5, back 3. So I think that this is my solution, which is negative 3, negative 1. Now many of you got something different from that and did not check your work to make sure it fit into both of these. Remember, if you get something, especially with graphing, it's so easy to make a mistake. You have to put your values back in to check your answers. All right, for the formative, I said that you could choose whichever method was most convenient. In other words, what you wanted to do. And there's definitely some that are more convenient than others. On the summative, I am going to check that you know how to do both substitution and combination. For 3, because y was already solved, substitution was the best because we know y equals negative 3 minus x. So I could just do negative 3x plus, but instead of this y, put what it equals, minus 3 minus x equals 3. So now I can combine my like terms. And I'm going to erase that, or just change it because I wrote a minus and it wasn't. Alright, so now I'm going to combine my like terms. So I have 2x minus 3 equals 3. So I have to add 3. So 2x equals 6. So x is 3. I'm going to put it over there and then come back over here. Y is negative 3 minus whatever x is, which is 3, minus a negative 3 minus 3 is a negative 6. And then you need to check your work in both equations. So I'm not going to take the time to do that, but you need to be doing that. I did on my key, I'm not going to here. For 4, I notice right off the bat that the y's are opposites. And because the y's are opposites, the most convenient method is solving by not substitution, combination. So I'm going to add down. So now I have 4x equals 4. And all I have to do is divide by 4, so x is 1. If you chose a different method, not the easiest. So then you're going to plug it back in. I'm going to choose the second equation. So 1 minus y equals 4. Subtract 1, now negative y equals 3, so y equals negative 3. So I have the answer 1, negative 3. Again, I checked my work on my key, but I'm not going to write it out for you now for the sake of time. For question 5, the first thing I noticed that all of my variables have numbers other than 1 as coefficients. So I know that solving by substitution is not the way to go. You could get rid of the x's. I personally, when I did this, I got rid of the y's because they had opposite signs. So I multiplied this first equation by a 3 and the second equation by a 4, because the first number that both 3 and 4 go into is 12. So that gave me 15x minus 12y equals 90, and it's a negative 90, and 8x plus 12y equals negative 48. So check, did you make a mistake there? Now I'm going to add down. That gives me 23x, my y's cancel, equals negative 138. I'm going to divide by 23, so x equals negative 6. I hope you are pausing and fixing your paper as we go. So now, and I said y, but it's x. X is negative 6. So I'm now going to take that and plug it back in. I chose to plug it into the second equation again. So 2 times negative 6 is negative 12, plus 3y equals negative 12. Once I add 12 to both sides, I have 3y equals 0, so I know my y is 0. So my answer is negative 6, 0. And of course, you're going to plug x and y into both equations to check. All right, the level 4 question is a little tricky only because there's 3 equations with 3 variables. So you have to start by solving, like acting like it is 2, but then you're going to have one equation that is left in terms of a variable. So I started with these two because they had b's in common. So I rewrote them with the b's in a column. So a plus b equals 15 and b plus c equals 7. And then I used combination, so I changed, it's like I multiplied by a negative 1, and then I combined. So now I have a minus c equals 8. So this was the first part of the system. Now I'm going to use this new equation and the second part. So 2a plus c equals 22. The c's are opposite, so they cancel out. So I have 3a equals 30, which means a is 10. And once you have 1, you can just plug it in to have that topple effect. So we have a equals 10. I'm going to plug it into this first one. So 10 plus b equals 15. So b is 5. And once we know b is 5, we can use the second one. 5 plus c equals 7, so c is 2. So when you have a 3, so c is 2. When you have a 3-variable, 3-equation system, you're going to have to end up with solving the system, but once you solve it, you're still going to have variables, and then you'll use the other equation to eliminate.